All right. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Ya Kundendu Tusharahara Dhavala Ya Shubhravastravrita Ya Veena Varadanda Manditakara Ya Shveta Padmasana या ब्रह्माच्युत शंकर प्रभृतिभिर्देवैः सदा वंदिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेषजाड्यापहा सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारंभं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा येनाक्षरसमाम्नाय मधिगम्य महेश्वरात् कृत्स्नं व्याकरणं प्रोक्तं तस्मै पाणिनये नमः अज्ञानान्धस्य लोकस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै पाणिनये नमः Hari Om everyone, and a very happy Shankara Jayanti to everybody. So this is the birthday of Adi Shankaracharya Bhagavan, and over here where we are, this is the birthplace of Adi Shankaracharya Bhagavan. So the celebrations are quite extensive. So that's really it's really quite a thing to behold. So if you ever get a chance, you can visit us here, and especially during Adi Shankara Mahotsav. That's this time period around his Jayanti, which means his birthday. My sincere thanks to the webinar team again. There's been a lot going on, and they've been working extra hard to make these videos available on YouTube, not just on our private Sanskrit webinar channel, but also on the public Chinfo channel. So slowly the videos will start coming out one by one as they master them and make sure that everything is perfect. So they'll start coming out on the Chinfo channel as well, which is a public channel, so they can be searched online as well. So keep a lookout for those. So my sincere thanks to the team, and my thanks, of course, to Sumedha Didi, who's our webinar coordinator, and she's the one who's been handling all of the emails and everything. So thank you very much to her, and my sincere thanks also to Srijit ji, who sits here with me, the unseen hero, who's always making sure everything is working while we are doing our class. So my sincere thanks to them, and of course the entire Chinmaya International Foundation for allowing us to have this wonderful webinar. And my pranams also to my second guru. Last week I did my pranams to my first guru. This week I do my pranams to my second guru, who is my father, because of whom I and my brother developed this interest in studying Vedanta, in studying Sanskrit, in basically studying anything that had to do with our ancient culture and heritage. So thanks a lot to him, due to his inspiration and his knowledge also, because he himself is extremely knowledgeable in these ways. So our conversations late at night, I remember even as a 7-year-old, 8-year-old, I used to have long, deep conversations with my dad about various topics related to knowledge of the self. And since then, because of his patience and his clarity, we also started gaining that kind of clarity. And so I always pay my respects to him, because if it wasn't for him, then I wouldn't have done anything that I did. with the confidence that I did also. And my pranams to him, not only as a guru, but also as a supporter, as somebody who sacrificed himself, and again, it comes back to how great parents are, that whatever his life may have been, could have been, he was always putting that aside so that we could do whatever it was that we did, whatever it is we wanted to do. And so that, in that way, I feel very lucky that anytime I ever expressed any desire to do anything, my parents were always in front of me doing, figuring out a path for me to do those things. So as opposed to imposing their particular desires, whatever they may have been, they never allowed us to feel like they had any particular desires of their own to make us do something that, like, no, you must be this, or you must do this, or you must do this. But rather, because of their acceptance of whatever it was we wanted to do, we were able to progress and do whatever it is that we have done so far. So my pranams to him and my mother for that as well. And so with that, we begin today. Last week we covered, well, let me give another introduction, a different kind of introduction. I've been saying that studying Sanskrit is not just about studying Sanskrit. And so far, our philosophical inquiry has brought us to concepts like Om, Dharma. It's brought us to ideas like Sanskriti and the vibrations that make up the whole universe, the fact that it impacts our minds. And all of that stuff is true. As you learn Sanskrit, these concepts, these ideas start to dawn upon your mind as you meditate upon the concepts that you learn. But it's also not just about the philosophical concepts that arise from your knowledge of language, but rather the concepts which have been written about in this language as well. That is something that we also cannot forget, we cannot ignore. The depth of thinking that arose in the people who knew Sanskrit, who studied Sanskrit, whose lives were impacted by Sanskrit is unfathomable. And from these unfathomed depths came unimaginable concepts that we couldn't come up with on our own. So if you look at any of the various shastras, any of the various disciplines, then you find a pattern of thinking that we cannot really understand today given our current circumstances in the world. We are right now trained to think that when I come up with an idea, then I must get credit for that. For example, just one example. When I come up with an idea, I must get credit for that idea. And we have things like intellectual property, we have patents, we have copyright. And all of these things together make my knowledge mine, or my things mine. But the ancient rishis, as they started to develop their shastras, they realized that that stuff's not important at all. They taught for free. They used to not sign their works, So when you read the Veda, for example, so many mantras are there who have where there's no trace of who wrote this, where did it come from. And so these people who went unnamed, all the things that they discovered, all of the things that they came to know, they said, you know what, this isn't mine. Like we were discussing last week about Saraswati, they really believed this. They believed it so much that Saraswati comes, she rests in my mind for some time while I'm alive, and then when I die, she goes off. Or as long as I'm respecting her, she stays, and then she goes away if I don't respect her. So that is by practicing the knowledge that I gained. So they really believed this so much that they understood I'm not the owner of this knowledge. And therefore, my name doesn't belong along with that knowledge. So they wrote what it is that they wrote, and then they just left it for us. And then what it is that they wrote was so unbelievably deep. Of course, as we are diving into Vyakarana, we are finding the most amazing the most amazing thought process, thought pattern to codify a language. Just imagine. Who thinks of that these days? You know, we have grammar, okay, you know, this word has to go after this word has to go after this. But where every single word comes from, how to build new words out of your language, all of that stuff is something that we're not really thinking of today. But this was all important to them. And then if you look at, for example, Vedanta, this idea that you are immortal, not this body, you know, these kind of thoughts, the idea that I am undying, eternal bliss. And then to spread that knowledge around the world, saying, look, they say, Shrunvantu Vishve Amritasya Putraha. Listen, all you people all around the world, somebody goes, climbs up on a mountain and says, Shrunvantu Vishve, listen all around the world, let everybody hear this. Amritasya Putraha, you all are the sons of immortality. You are the children of immortality. So to declare this, and then to not take any credit for that knowledge, to say like, look, this is not mine, I'm not saying this. Don't listen to me, listen to yourself. Listen to what's happening inside of you. In order to go this direction, they had to be immersed in a culture which was not interested in the stuff we're interested in today. As simple as that. And so to understand them, learning Sanskrit is all important. Without Sanskrit, you know, when you actually read what they wrote, when you read it in English, sometimes it doesn't make sense. You read and you say, whoa, how can they think like this? And then you read it in Sanskrit and you're like, oh my gosh, it makes perfect sense. I understand what they're saying. I understand why they're saying it, how they're saying it. So learning Sanskrit is of the essence, not just to change your life through the language. That is, you yourself become a rishi. But it is to also be able to understand what other people have written who were also changed by this language. So that also is an essential component of learning Sanskrit. And so as we are learning, as we progress further, right now we're not yet at the stage where we can read everything by ourselves, but slowly we'll get there. Slowly you'll start recognizing dhatus as you continue to do your practice of the dhatu patha, which I will explain more how to do. Slowly you'll start recognizing these things. You'll start realizing that there's much more depth, much more meaning that can be extracted from each word that these guys wrote. And we have no idea how it is that they did it. We don't know how they were able to think so deeply that each word they wrote could be interpreted in 5 different ways, and all 5 ways seem valid to us. All of the ways in which we interpret seem like something that is that's equally plausible, equally valid. In order to write like that, you know, well, that's as much as I can say. I have no idea. We have no clue. We have no clue how it is that they did what they did. But the more we immerse ourselves in their world, the more we realize that that world is a much, much more beautiful world, a harmonious world, a world that it would be really nice if we can start bringing that into our lives today. And it happens not just by learning Sanskrit alone, but by also reading what is written in Sanskrit. So we'll get there eventually. Of course, this webinar is level 1. Soon you'll start recognizing dhatus. You'll start being able to pick out these verbs from the sentence and understand where the sentence is going, the push of the sentence. So that part is extremely essential. That's step number 1. But after that, we'll start getting into the relationship between the verb and different words. We'll start getting into the meaning of different words. And as we go, as we progress, as the meaning of the sentences that you read, whether it's from the Bhagavad Gita or the Upanishads or the Brahma Sutra, which are Vedantic texts, or it's from something like Tarka Sangraha, which is a Nyaya text, or whether it's something like from Mimamsa or from any text, as you start to read it and as you start to fathom the meaning in all of its depth, all of its glory, as you read, then that's another aspect of changing your life as well. So giving you not just a new thought process, but new thoughts as well. So that's something that I want to emphasize. Don't forget about that. All right, so we saw the dhatu. Dhatu was born, dhatu was cleaned, dhatu was made up. It was prepared. Once the dhatu is prepared, the dhatu met with a lakara. It met with a particular tense or mood. And we're looking at only 4 lakaras right now because they function in the same way. Those lakaras are lat, which is present tense, lot, which is the imperative mood, which means something like commanding, requesting, inviting, all of these things, questioning also. Lung, which means the past tense that happened before today. And vidhiling, which means the same thing as lot. It's called the optative mood, but its meaning is exactly the same as lot. And its usage is also very close to the usage of lot. So, so we're learning these 4 lakaras. And I have already requested you to start memorizing the pratyayas for those 4 lakaras. So keep doing that. I recommend making a big chart, okay? So you should make a giant chart that says the pratyayas for the 4 lakaras, and take these things from page 10 and 11 of our Dhatu Patha and put them in this big chart. So have Parasmay Pada on one side, Atmane Pada on one side, and do it lakara by lakara. And you should, put that chart in your room somewhere, something like this. And when you wake up, you try and remember those pratyayas. Now, I also said that recognizing the pratyaya, not just memorizing, but also recognizing the pratyaya is half the battle, more than half the battle, 90% of the battle. If you can recognize what kind of pratyaya it is, and we already started talking about the different types of pratyaya. In fact, we've talked about all of the different types of pratyayas already. If you can recognize what type of pratyaya it is, then you can know exactly which pathway that pratyaya has to go down when it comes to the reaction that takes place between the dhatu and the pratyaya. And so the dhatu was joined with a lakara, and the lakara, once we do itsanya and everything on that lakara, then you're left only with the la, and that la is then replaced with these ting pratyayas, those 72 pratyayas that you are memorizing. And it's not replaced by all of them at once, it's replaced only by one of them that you choose based on what it is you want to talk about. So do I want to talk about the third person singular? Am I talking about some other person? Or you, respectfully? Am I talking about 2 people? Am I talking about 3 people? Or 100 people? Am I talking about myself? Am I talking about you in the diminutive, this madhyama purusha way, tvam, by saying tvam. Tvam means you. Tvam actually means, okay, here's something interesting. Tvam actually means thou. I may have mentioned this before, I'm not sure. Tvam means thou, which is that madhyama purusha, that middle person. Thou as in, this old English thou. There is a difference between saying the word bhavan, which means you, in the masculine, or bhavati, which means you in the feminine, which is a respectful way of talking. And if you want to give like ultimate respect, then you then you use it in the plural. So you say bhavantah, that means you all, but actually it means you in the very respectful way, or it can refer to you all also. Or bhavatyah in the feminine, to refer to you very respectfully or to you all. So there's a difference between that, saying bhavan or bhavati, and saying tvam, which means thou. Now thou, we don't really understand what it means today because we don't use it in our language. So it doesn't incite a particular definition in our head. But thou means the same thing as you, but just in the, like, I think it's called the diminutive form, like the that middle person, which you use to talk to children or people who are very close to you, or sometimes you use it to talk to God or to your parents or something like that. So, you know, you'll say, oh, thou hast done something, something, something. So this hast also is a verb which corresponds to thou. So English also used to have this middle person concept and these middle verbal conjugations as well. Thou hast done something, thou goest to this place or whatever. It used to have that as well. But over time, you know, as people started using only this respectful form, you all the time, thou dropped away. And its associated verbal forms also dropped away. That's interesting to make that note, to make that point that, oh my gosh, English also used to have this thing, but we don't use it anymore. So that thing, thou, is what we call as tvam in Sanskrit. So when you say tvam, and then suppose you're saying thou goest, then you say tvam gaccha, or thou does something, you know, tvam, or that means not thou goest, but thou go, may you go, like that, tvam gaccha, or thou goest means tvam gacchasi, or, and also, you know, here's the crazy thing. I think about this sometimes, and, you know, allow me to indulge in this open reflection as we go through this class today. But it's interesting to note that the word thou, which has this thou, that th sound it's got, and it has that u sound in there. And u, of course, is almost interchangeable with this v sound in many different places. It's very interesting to note the relationship, the fact that of all of the sounds that they could have chosen to make this word, that word tvam also has those same, it has th and it's got v in it as well. How, like, sometimes I think it's not an accident, you know, it's not some kind of a coincidence that all of these things are so related. And go, gaccha, you know, thou goest, gacchasi, that ga and that sa that happens at the beginning and the end, goest, gacchasi. I sometimes I don't think that it's a total accident. And these examples are very vague. Obviously, these examples don't necessarily show anything in particular or prove anything. So that's not what I'm claiming. But when we start to see the similarities between these languages, I think I mentioned this already, but that sta root, you know, which has to do with a single place, and it means to stop or to stay in one place. Then you look at all these words in English that have that st sound also, and you've got stop, stick, station, stand, stationary, static. So all of these various words that have that st sound that relate directly to this root, it doesn't seem like a coincidence, a total accident that these things are related. So anyway, as you go along, notice these similarities and see how interesting it is that around the world you have languages which seem totally unconnected, totally disconnected, and yet have this interesting connection through the sounds of their words. There's much more where that came from. You know, this whole idea of etymologies and stuff is very, very interesting, and relationships between words is very interesting. So that's something to be explored at some point. And that also helps us to understand our language better as well, when we can dig down into the origin of that word. So, all right. Sometimes we also may wonder, in English, you have all these spellings. The spellings of English words are sometimes really weird. You're like, why is it that it has to have this particular, like for example, the word knowledge. Why is there a K there? Anybody ever ask that question seriously? Like, what is the point of that K that happens if anyway you're going to pronounce it as knowledge? If you're going to say na, right? You must have asked this question. What's the point of having that K? And little kids ask that question, but they get silenced by their teacher, saying like, oh, don't worry about that, But that's because the teacher also has no idea. And the teacher also is just like, it's a nice question, but we've been conditioned not to think about it or to question it. And when you question it, you start realizing, hey, that spelling is actually very important, because the spelling helps us to get back to the actual root of the word. So you look at the word knowledge, then you can trace it back to the ancient Greek, which is this word cognosko, which means to cognize, to know, knowledge, and then that of course comes back all the way back to jignasa, to the desire to know, and jnanam, the knowledge itself. So it's so that K there. That K is what gives us the pathway back into the etymology of the word. That K is something which has been carried over from these older words, from where it's come. So keeping that in mind is very interesting. So actually the spellings of these words are actually important, and they help us to get back to these. Anyway, it's another very interesting tidbit. So more about that later. Now, here's what we had done. We mixed it with the lakara, the dhatu, and the lakara was replaced by one of the ting pratyayas. And the pratyaya we chose was ti, or tip, which once you do the it sanya, the pa goes away and it's left with ti, in lat lakara. So now you've got this ti, which indicates third person singular, and you have our dhatu, our verbal root, which we can choose any, but let's say we chose pat, and then pat plus ti. But when you speak in Sanskrit, it doesn't sound like that. It's not patti. That's not what it is. There's something in between also. So as soon as the dhatu sees a sarvadhatuka pratyaya, this is where we left off last time. As soon as the dhatu sees a sarvadhatuka pratyaya, in between that dhatu and the sarvadhatuka pratyaya falls a vikaranam. Vikaranam was one of the types of the pratyayas that attaches to a dhatu. So now let's come back to our slides. So Srijit ji, can you please share the screen? And I hope it works right away this time. Yes. Okay. So So we saw these 4 different types of pratyayas that attach to a dhatu. One of them was sanadi pratyayas that makes new dhatus. One of them is vikaranam, which we are now seeing. One of them is ting pratyayas, which are the different persons and different numbers. They represent those, and which come from the various lakaras. And we have krit pratyayas, which are those pratyayas that attach to a dhatu to make it into a pratipadika, to make it into a nominal stem. So we have these 4 different types of pratyayas. And now, here's what we are seeing. Please come, please come. So now here's what we are seeing. We come forward, and we have 2 types of pratyayas. See, these 4 can also be classified into 2 types. One is sarvadhatuka, and one is ardhadhatuka. So we gave the definitions last time. Sarvadhatuka is anything pratyaya. That means any of those 72 pratyayas that falls within the ting pratyahara, that abbreviation. And shit pratyayas, which are any pratyaya whose shakara, the sha, the letter sha is given the it sanya. So the sutra for that is ting shit sarvadhatukam, which we already saw. And then all the other pratyayas, are called Ardha Dhatukam. Everything else that doesn't fall within the thing or shit category is called Ardha Dhatukam. That attaches to a dhatu. Don't forget, these are only for pratyas that attach to dhatus. All right, so here we have, now we had that other chart, Sarvadhatuka and Ardha Dhatuka. The Sarvadhatuka we saw can be divided into these 4 different types. Haladi Pit Sarvadhatuka, Ajadi Pit Sarvadhatuka, Haladi Apit Sarvadhatuka, and Ajadi Apit Sarvadhatuka. And Ardha Dhatuka can be divided into these 3 types. Samanya Ardha Dhatuka, Yit or Nit Ardha Dhatuka, and Kit or Nit Ardha Dhatuka. So these 3 categories of Ardha Dhatuka were made. So that makes a total of 7 different types of pratyas that attach to dhatus, which we saw last time. But I'm just giving you this refresher so that you don't have to rack your brain for what we're doing now when we come back to it. So we saw this dhatu plus lat. The ta goes away because of halantyam. The goes away because of upadeshe janunasika it, and you're left with la. Then you have that sutra 3477, which is lasya. And lasya says that that la has to be replaced by the ting pratyayas. So you get one ting pratyaya that comes in its place, and we chose ti here. That's according to our desire to speak, our vivaksha. And you have dhatu plus ti. But now dhatu plus ti cannot sit together just like that. When the dhatu sees a sarvadhatuka pratyaya, which this is, why is ti a sarvadhatuka pratyaya? Because it's part of the ting pratyahara. Remember, ting shit sarvadhatukam. And therefore, something comes in the middle, a vikaranam. So now here we have our sutras, sarvadhatuke, yak, and kartari shap. So we borrow the word sarvadhatuke from the previous sutra, which says, when followed by a sarvadhatuka pratyaya, that's what that means, sarvadhatuke. When followed by a sarvadhatuka pratyaya, and that sarvadhatuka pratyaya has to be in kartari. Kartari means the active voice. So when you say karoti, gacchati, pathati, all of these verbs are there. These verbs are in the active voice. It means so-and-so does this. So-and-so does this. So-and-so goes. So-and-so reads. So-and-so makes, does, whatever. So that is the active voice. So when it's in the active voice, and when it is a sarvadhatuka pratyaya, then between the dhatu and that sarvadhatuka pratyaya comes a new pratyaya called shap, which is circled here in the second sutra. Now this shap pratyaya, which is called a vikaranam, because the word vikarana means that which separates 2 things. So that which comes in between these 2, dhatu and the ting pratyaya, or the sarvadhatuka pratyaya, this shap is called a vikarana. Now we did the it sanya on this shap, and we got sha goes away and pa goes away, and you're left with a. And so this a comes in the middle, and you get pat plus a plus ti, and then you just have to combine them and you get pathati. Pretty easy. But then you have bhu plus a plus ti. And we know that the final form of this bhu plus a plus ti should be bhavati and not bhuati. So you can't just combine them just like that. And so there is one reaction that will take place, which we're going to learn, that is going to make that happen. Now, as we are studying this, a question should have come to your mind just now. Wait a second. The sha in shap goes away from a sutra, la shakva tadhite. La shakva tadhite. That sutra says, hang on a second, anything at the beginning of a pratyaya, which is la, sha, or ku, which means ka, kha, ga, gha, nga, and is not a tadhita pratyaya, which we haven't even looked at yet, gets the it sanya. If this is the case, and this is the question that should have come to your mind, if this is the case, then what about over here with lat? Lut is also a pratyaya that comes. So yeah, we very conveniently took away the in the middle with upadeshe janunasika it, and we took away the ta because of halantyam. But should not lashakva tadhite take away the la and then make this into a shunya pratyaya? I hope that question is now in your head. Those of you who understand the question, can you please raise your hand? Okay, wonderful. So you are understanding the question. Great. See the question, I'll repeat the question and you keep your hand raised if you understand it, okay? Keep your hand raised if you understand it. The question is this. Lashakva Tadhite is a sutra that we learned. And that sutra is supposed to give either la, sha, or ku the it sanya if it's at the beginning of a pratyaya. And here we have a pratyaya, lat. And lat is at the beginning, the la is at the beginning of this pratyaya lat. So should not the sutra lashakva tadhite give the it sanya to the la of lat? So if you understand this question, please raise your hand. Okay, good. Now more people are understanding. So then the question is, well, why doesn't that happen? Why is it that the la does not get the it sanya, even though lashakva tadhite says that it should get the it sanya? And the answer to this question is that if we were to give the it sanya to la, then la would be taken away. The lopa would happen of la by the sutra tasya lopaha, right? Tasya lopaha would take away that la. If tasya lopaha was to take away that la, then that sutra, what we just studied, lasya, would have no place for it to operate. Lasya, that sutra, would become totally useless. It would become totally meaningless because there is no la anymore anywhere for it to replace. And so the way Panini's sutras work is like this. It's so, I can't explain the brilliance of this. Yes, one sutra is saying that you should take away the la, lashakva tadhite. And that sutra has a huge place of operation. It does lots and lots of things. It takes away the sha at the beginning, ku at the beginning, la at the beginning of all these different pratyayas. But lasya has only one place of operation, which is that la. And so if lashakva tadhite was to take away this la, then lasya would become totally meaningless. And so the way Panini's sutras work is like this. If a sutra becomes totally meaningless because of the operation of some other sutra that has many different places of operation, then in order for this now meaningless sutra to actually have meaning, for it to actually do its operation, the other sutra cannot perform its operation in this place. It's unbelievably brilliant. He did not say any extra words. He didn't tell us anything extra that like, look, lasya is there, but I know that the la is gonna go away because of lashakva tadhite, so we gotta bring it back and then we're gonna, no, he doesn't say that. He just says lasya. And that's enough indication to us. That is enough to tell us that because that sutra is there, and every sutra has to have some kind of operation, it has to do something, therefore, lashakva tadhite, which takes away the la here, cannot operate on this la because lasya needs to have some place of operation. It is unbelievably brilliant. Panini has done this in so many places where he doesn't say anything extra. In the shortest amount of syllables, he has given us enough indication to know exactly what to do and how to do it. It's unbelievable. No sutra can have no operation because that doesn't make any sense for it to be a sutra then. And therefore, for lasya to actually operate, lashakva tadhite cannot take this la away. And we know that because otherwise lasya becomes totally meaningless. So that is why lashakva tadhite does not operate on this la, but it does operate on this sha. So that sha goes away. All right. The sha goes away, so that makes it shit, which makes it a sarvadhatuka pratyaya. The pa goes away, so that makes it pit. And because we're left with only a, that makes it ajadi. Ajadi meaning beginning with a vowel. So this is an ajadi pit sarvadhatuka pratyaya. All right. In fact, we had come this far last week itself. So now let's move forward and get something new out of this. Kartari shap. This shap is a general prescription to everything. This is Panini's style. He gives you this general prescription. And he says, yeah, this applies to everything. He has two styles. I'll tell you about this style right now. He gives you that general prescription. He says, hey, this thing, this shap right here, it's going to come when any dhatu is followed by any sarvadhatuka pratyaya ever. That's in the active voice. Okay? So if it's kartari, then shap is going to come. And then he says, but I have also divided the dhatu patha. Now, this is the time for you to open your dhatu patha and please take a look at it. So if you have that dhatu patha, this fatter book, then please take a look at it. And if you don't, then open it in the PDF. Okay? Because I put a PDF up on the Google Drive, so you should have that by now. So take a look at that dhatu patha. And look at the topmost thing on the right-hand side page throughout the, just flip into the middle of the book somewhere and look at the top of that right page. You'll see some word there that ends with the word ganaha, ganaha. So you'll see, like for example, if you flip to page 83 in the dhatu patha, and that is page 88 in the PDF. So the absolute page numbering of the PDF is 88, and it's page 83 in the actual dhatu patha book. So if you flip to page 83, you will see at the top of the page there's something that says divadi ganaha, all the way at the top, along the same, in the same row as the page number itself. Divadi ganaha. Do you see that? Everybody who sees that, please raise your hand, just so I can make sure that you are seeing what I'm talking about. And also make sure that you're looking at the dhatu patha as I'm teaching. Please keep your hand raised. I hope more of you are looking at the dhatu patha. Okay, all right, that's fine, good. So, so now you see this divadi ganaha. That divadi ganaha there is divided into two things, divadi and ganaha. The word ganaha means a particular group, a group. So ganaha is a group of dhatus. And the word divadi, we've seen the word adi a million times now. Adi means beginning with this particular thing. And what is it beginning with? With div. So there's a group that begins with div, the dhatu called div. Now let's flip forward. Let's flip to page 93 in the dhatu patha, which is 98 in the PDF. There at the top you see tudadi ganaha. Tudadi ganaha. Tudadi means beginning with tud. And ganaha, of course, you know, means that group. So there's another group of dhatus. Like this, Panini has made 10 different groups of dhatus within the overall dhatu patha. So it's not just a list of dhatus in some random assortment. They have been assorted into 10 different groups. So you have divadi, you have bhuadi ganaha, you have divadi ganaha, you have tudadi ganaha, you have churadi ganaha, that means beginning with bhu, beginning with div, beginning with tud, beginning with chur. Then you've got Rudhadi Ganaha, you have Juhotyadi Ganaha, you have Adadi Ganaha, you have Tanadi Ganaha, you have, I think I said Adadi already, you have, oh man, you have Kriyadi Ganaha, and you have Swadi Ganaha. So we've got these 10 different ganas, okay? That means 10 different groups beginning with 10 different dhatus. And those little groups, mini groups within the dhatu patha are groups with a purpose, okay? So you have to keep this in mind. Now keep in mind that we've got these 10 different groups, okay? You can do that. It's not too difficult. You can all put your hands down now also, in case you had raised your hand. So Kartari Shap we already saw. No, not raise your hand. You can put them down now. Put down your hands. All right. So we had seen Kartari Shap, which is the blanket overall prescription. That Shap is going to come in between a dhatu and any sarvadhatuka pratyaya. Now we come to our next sutra, where Panini says, hold on a second. Divadibhyah Shyan. Hey. If you are in the Divadi Gana, okay, you're a dhatu in the Divadi Gana, then you are not going to get Shap. That's what this sutra is saying. Divadibhyah. Now when you get this bhyah at the end, it means following all of these various things. Bhyah is a plural. It's a plural of the what's called the ablative case or ablative declension. But what it means is following this particular thing that precedes. So following Divadi. So following any dhatu which is in the Divadi group. And what do you mean following? If a sarva dhatuka pratyaya, remember we're still taking sarva dhatu ke from here, and we're taking kartari from the next sutra. So it says, when followed by a sarva dhatuka pratyaya, that is in the kartari, that means in active voice, then the dhatus which fall into the Divadi Gana will be followed by Shyan. They will get Shyan in between and not Shap. So Panini is now giving us the Vishesha. So the way in which Panini teaches is something called as Samanya Vishesha. Samanya Vishesha. That's his way of teaching. He gives you the Samanya, which is the blanket overall thing that applies to everybody. And then he gives you the Vishesha. Oh, and for these people you get this, and for these people you get this, and for these you get this, and for these you get this. So he gives us the Vishesha in between. All right? And now through this prakarana that we are studying, prakarana means the section, through this section, the Vikarana section that we are studying, you will also gain an appreciation and an understanding of how to interpret Panini's sutras as well. That's the purpose of this, and that's why I'm taking this very slow as well. But now it's going to speed up. So Divadibhyah Shyan, all of those dhatus which fall into the Divadi Gana, that starts on page 83 of the Dhatu Patha or 88 of the PDF, are going to be followed by Shyan. So now take a look here actually. Let's take a look at the Dhatu Patha. You've got this Dhatu number 998, which says Yasu Prayatne. Yasu Prayatne 998. Okay, so once you do the it sanya and all that stuff, you get yas. And prayatne is the meaning of that dhatu, which means to put effort, putting effort. When it's this dhatu is in the meaning of putting effort, trying. So after it sanya and everything, you get yas. This far we had gotten already with preparation of the dhatus. Now we're moving on to the next column, not that column in the middle, which is the Hindi meaning of this, but the next column, which says yasya. You see that second to last column. It says yasya. This yasya is the dhatu which has been cleaned up plus the vikaranam. before we add the final ting pratyaya to it. Okay, so yasya. So here let's take this example. We have yas. Yas is a dhatu which is part of the dhatu patha, and it is followed by ti, which is a sarvadhatuka pratyaya that is in the kartari prayoga. That means the active voice. Kartari prayoga, that's what it's called in Sanskrit, the active voice, and therefore the sutra kartari shap applies. Kartari shap, it says, hey, you're going to get shap. That means shap is the vikaranam that's going to sit in between you. But then divadibhya shyan comes in. So I'm going to say it once, you repeat after me, this sutra, okay? Divadibhya shyan.
Divadibhyashan.
Divadibhyasyan.
Divadibhyasyan.
Good. So this sutra says, oh, but if you're in the divadi gana, if that dhatu, which like yas is, if it is in the divadi gana, then it's going to get shyan as the vikaranam instead of shap. Now let's do it sanya on shyan. What happens? The sha is going to go away because of lashakva tadhite. Halantyam is going to take away that na, and you are left at the end with only ya. You are left at the end only with ya. And it's a full ya, that's ya plus a, ya, okay? So it says this is going to be the vikaranam. So now you've got yas dhatu, yas plus ti, and in between comes, supposed to come shap from the previous sutra, but now comes shyan because of this sutra, which negates the previous sutra. It overrides, supersedes the previous sutra. And so you get this ya in the middle. So now you get yas plus ya plus ti. And look at that final form there, you got yasyati. Yasyati, you can see it there at the end. Yasyati, are you seeing it? Yasyati. And that's your final form, because the vikaranam that came was ya and not a from shap. All right. Now, next sutra. This sutra says, va bhrasha bhlasha bhramu kramu klamu trasi truti lashaha. Va bhrasha. Okay, so I'm going to say it once, and you repeat after me. And if it doesn't work, we'll break it up. All right. Va bhrasha bhlasha bhramu kramu klamu trasi truti lashaha.
Va bhrasha bhlasha bhramu kramu klamu trasi truti lashaha.
Okay, let's try again. I'm going to break it up. Va bhrasha bhlasha.
Va bhrasha bhlasha
Bhramu kramu.
bhramu kramu
Klamu.
klamu
Trasi truti lashaha.
trasi truti lashaha.
Va bhrasha bhlasha.
Va bhrasha bhlasha
Bhramu kramu klamu.
bhramu kramu klamu
Trasi truti lashaha.
trasi truti lashaha.
All right. So now we're going to try the whole thing. Va bhrasha bhlasha bhramu kramu klamu trasi truti lashaha.
Va bhrasha bhlasha bhramu kramu klamu trasi truti
Lashaha. Okay, we'll try it one more time. I'm going to say it a little slower, okay? Va bhrasha bhlasha bhramu klam. Oh, sorry. Let me try again. Va bhrasha bhlasha bhramu kramu klamu trasi truti lashaha.
Va bhrasha bhlasha bhramu kramu klamu trasi truti lashaha.
All right. So now you're going to have to memorize these sutras. What can you do? Without knowing the sutra in your head, you won't know what to do. So, but it's very fun sutra. I like this sutra quite a lot. This word, see, all these sutras are in continuation of each other, okay? They all are borrowing from each other. This sutra adds something new here. You got this word here, va. The word va means optionally. Optionally. Something is going to happen optionally. That means at the end of this sutra, you're going to have two options going on. The first option is shyan, which we are bringing down. Okay, va shyan. That's what's going to happen. Va shyan. So let's take a look. These are all dhatus we've just mentioned. Bhrasha is a dhatu, bhlasha is a dhatu, bhramu is a dhatu, kramu is a dhatu, klamu, trasi, truti, lasha. These are all dhatus. And they're all separated by hyphens very conveniently, so you can see it. In other Ashtadhyayi Sutra Pathas, you don't get it like this. It's just all connected like this. You can't even see what is what. So this is very lucky that our teacher here, the author of this, Dr. Pushpa Dikshit ji, has gone through every single sutra and broken it up in the appropriate place for us. So va means optionally. What is optional about this? We're going to get optionally shyan, because that's what's being ordained here. That's what's being told to us to do. So va shyan is going to happen. Optionally shyan is going to come in the middle for these dhatus, bhrasha, blasha, brahmu, kramu, klamu, trasi, truti, lasha. Okay, so that means let's take, for example, bhrash. All right, you got bhrash here as a dhatu, and ti. Bhrash plus ti, suppose, for example. So bhrash is a dhatu, ti is a sarva dhatuka pratyaya. All right, and it's in kartari. That means it's in the active voice. So technically, what should happen? Kartari shap. That's the first sutra we saw. Shap should be coming in the middle. But then it's part of divadi gana, so divadibhya shyan should happen. So shyan should take place instead of shap. That's what it means. Then va bhrasha comes in. Va. It says, hey, this is actually optional for bhrasha. Look at how Panini is building his sutras. Then you get bhrash plus ti, and what comes in the middle then? Optionally shyan. And then when shyan doesn't happen, in the other option, what's going to take place? Any guesses? On the other hand, what will happen? The blanket will happen. You see, you got this blanket statement that's coming on, kartari shap. And divadibhya shyan is a little specific statement. So it says, for all the divadi gana dhatus, you're going to get shyan in the middle instead of shap. But then, Panini says, but wait a second. If you are bhrasha, bhlasha, brahmu, kramu, klamu, trasi, truti, lasha, then you're going to optionally get shyan. That means on one hand, shyan will take place. That is shyan which is blocking the shap. But on the other hand, shyan is not going to take place. So shyan is no longer blocking shap. Which means, on the other hand, what's going to happen? Shap is going to happen. So on the one hand, you're going to get bhrashyati. And on the other hand, you're going to get bhrashati. Okay, if ti is our pratyaya. If te is our pratyaya, then it's going to be bhrashyate and bhrashate. Okay, that's what's going to happen, as simple as that. Now, let's say we've got, okay, well, anyway, it's the same for all of these. Nothing new here. I just really want to go through the next two sutras so we can just finish, and we finish properly instead of in the middle of one particular little section. So, va means vikalpena, optionally. Then you got the sutra. Yasonupasargat. Okay, here we are, Yasonupasargat. And I'm circling it so that we know that we've seen it. But the circling isn't working too well right now. Okay, that's all I have to do. All right, there we go. Yasonupasargat. This is yasaha plus anupasargat. Yasaha. So if we break these two words apart, then you get yasaha, that is yas followed by a visarga, yasaha, and then anupasargat. And that gets hidden by that visarga. So it becomes called as yasonupasargat. But actually it's yasaha plus anupasargat. Whenever you see that little S sign in the middle, like you see here, this little S here, which I'm unable to circle. Okay, anyway, whenever you see that little S, then it means that there was an there there was an at that time, but got hidden by something else, like this o that's preceding. So yasonupasargat. So yasaha means following the dhatu called yas, which is a dhatu which we just saw actually, number 998. Following yas, what's going to happen? And anupasargat. Anupasargat means unupasargat, when it has no upasarga. Un means no, not, negation. Upasargat, when it has no upasarga, that means when it has no prefix, then when there is yas without a prefix and it's followed by a sarvadhatuka kartari pratyaya like ti, so yas plus ti, then va, that we're going to carry down this va from the previous sutra. Okay, so va is going to come down, which means when there is no upasarga, when there is no prefix for yas dhatu, then it also optionally gets shyan. Optionally gets shyan. That means in the other case, it's going to get, in the other case, what's going to happen? When it doesn't get shyan, then it's going to get shap. Exactly. So let's take a look again here in our book. So we got yasya, which is our dhatu plus vikaranam shyan. And next to it, you got yasyati. But just under that, you see, yasati. That is when yas does not get shyan. So you get yasati instead of yasyati. Okay? So that's what's telling you there, what's going on. So this is a va situation. Vikalpa. Vikalpa means option. There's an option going on over here. So when things are optional, the way you have to think about it is, in one case, what's being told is going to happen. And in the other case, we can imagine that this sutra wasn't there at all. If this sutra wasn't there at all, then what's going to happen? On the other side, you're going to get shap. So you got shyan and you have shap here. Two options. And the final sutra here, sanyasascha. Okay, so one sec. I'm going to say the previous sutra once you guys repeat after me. Yasonupasargat.
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 That's how you say sutras actually. There's a way, there's a cadence to it. Yasonupasargat.
Yasonupasargat.
Okay, and now our next sutra, sanyasascha.
Sanyascha.
Sanyasascha.
Sanyascha.
Okay, so this sutra, sanyasascha, says, but if it is, so previously we said if yas has no upasarga, then this is what's going to happen. And it says, wait. If you have the upasarga, the prefix sam on top of yas, so you get sanyas, sam plus yas, sam yas. If you have sam plus yas, then cha, sam yasaha, cha, sam yasascha. This is another sandhi, another that phonetic combination that's going to happen. Sanyasascha, sanyasaha, cha. Cha means and. So it says, and for sam yas. For when yas is preceded by some upasarga, then this is also going to happen. You are also going to get an option. And what is that option? Shyan. Shyan is the option. So you're going to get shyan as one option. So you get sam plus yas, sam yasyati with shyan. And without shyan, you get sam yasati. And for all other upasargas, that is all other prefixes for yas, like pra, for example, you have no option. That means you're only going to get shyan. You're not going to get shap. You're only going to get shyan because it's part of divadi gana. So you will only get shyan. So for pra, for example, pra is a upasarga, you're going to get prayasati. You're going to get prayasyati. Prayasyati only. You will not get prayasati because shap is not going to happen for prayas. It's only going to happen for yas or samyas. That's all. So for this other upasarga, pra or ava or apa or nir or this or dus or dur, you're not going to get any option. Okay, so this is about options. So yas will have the option of shan and shap. Some yas is also going to have the option of shan and shap, but the other one, the other upasargas, the other prefixes that are there, which I'll tell you in the notes, all of them, I'll list them out, are not going to have any option. That's what this sutra means. And so the way his sutras build on each other is like this, that I take words from previous sutras to make sure that a particular operation takes place for a particular dhatu. Now we have to stop there. I don't want to take more time, but next time we'll continue on and finally finish this Vikarana section, and then we can move forward. But you can see now how we're coming to the final forms, which is very exciting. All right, so that's enough. Please stop sharing the screen for 1 second so I can tell everybody thank you for coming. All right, thank you all. So I'll see you next week. Let's conclude, and then we'll meet again next week. I saw one question which I'll just quickly answer, which was, not all of them, but just one. No, there's no difference in meaning between yasyati and yasati. No difference in meaning, only difference in form. But the other question I saw was, if lot and vidhiling have the same meaning, then why have two of them? That's a good question. That's a very good question. But remember, Panini did not create Sanskrit. He is not the one who actually made the Sanskrit language. Sanskrit already existed. He's not telling us, hey, you should have both lot and vidhiling, even though their meaning is going to be exactly the same. No. What he's saying is, I have observed that in the world when people speak Sanskrit, then lot, which has a particular form, and vidhiling, which has a different form, mean exactly the same thing. That's all that means. That's what he's saying. So it's not that there should be two, but it's that there are two, and that Panini is simply codifying them. So he's never telling us that there should be two. I hope that answers the question. And if you have further questions, don't forget to go to the discussion forum. I'll be on it more this week than I have been in the past 2 weeks, because I have a little more time this week. So I'll get on that discussion forum and see what kind of discussions you all have been having, and then answer where I feel that it's necessary to answer. Okay, so that's it for this week. Don't worry if it's not making sense to you right now. It will by the time we get to the end of the Vikaranam section, and so just stick with it for a little bit, and then it'll make sense. And then you'll see, oh my God, I'm getting all these forms. It's beautiful. It's amazing. So that'll happen soon. And keep looking at the dhatu patha. Just open it and look at the different dhatus. Look at their different meanings. I have already given you a document that explains how to use it, how to actually look up dhatus in the dictionary and all that stuff, so you can see what they mean. So keep looking through it. It's important that you keep taking a look so that it stays fresh in your mind. Okay, and I'll teach you more about that later. Let's conclude. All right. Thank you for staying for an extra 10 minutes. And now we will finish up. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. So thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you next week. Hari Om, everyone.